It's the holiday season, and if you are any kind of Star Wars fan, you are clearly getting ready for Life Day, as first seen in 1978's Star Wars Holiday Special. Today's MIA 80s Ladies is going to be, about, let's say, the female lead of that entire special, Malla, Chewbacca's wife. The infamous Star Wars Holiday Special aired only once on November 17th, 1978, basically about a year and a half after Star Wars first released. It was only aired on CBS. However, many people had recorded it on their VCRs or Betamax or whatever it is they had at the time. The special itself is largely framed around a lot of, 1970s variety shows at the time, like Donnie and Marie or Sonny and Cher. Basically, kind of a framing device around a bunch of really long, awkward, unfunny skits. In this case, the entire kind of loose story is around Han Solo trying to get Chewbacca home to Kashyyyk to see his family for Life Day, essentially their Christmas stand-in. All the while, they're being pursued by Imperial agents. Chewie's family's being, hustled for them, and they're also kind of just killing time, waiting for Chewie to arrive. So that killing time involves watching a cooking show, or watching holographic acrobats, or jerking off to Dion Carroll. It's baffling. It's just absolutely baffling. There's a lot to say about the holiday special. This is not the time or the place to do that, but if you've not seen it, it's on YouTube. Do yourself a favor, get through it. But there's some highlights for sure. I mean, probably the main one that everyone really kind of talks about to this day is a Boba Fett short, animated by Nelvana, who would eventually go on to do Ewoks and droids later in the 80s. It's pretty great, and it's a great art style. It's one that, it's very 70s, very crisp, kind of wackadoo colors in some places, but nevertheless, it's something that, like, if Disney, for example, were to ever do an animated special, I really like the style. And of course, it's technically the first time we ever saw Boba Fett. Put a pin in this one, because we're going to get back to it. Other highlights include Harrison Ford, who brings a certain sort of, sparkle and charm. He probably put more into this special than he did for the entirety of Return of the Jedi. Mark Hamill, of course, came back, and he is pre-motorcycle accident, absolutely caked in makeup. I mean, he looks orange, and it's so thick that it starts reflecting the lights so that his face washes out in the camera. It's weird. It's weird. I don't know who did him dirty like that. Likewise, my unconfirmed biological mother, Carrie Fisher, shows up, and a beautiful singing voice. Actually, after you dredge through the entire special, she has a very lovely song, but she is so messed up on coke. I mean, Chewie and 3PO were clearly just propping her up half the time, and I love it. Likewise, the only other good song worth really mentioning would be by unconfirmed biological grandmother, B. Arthur. She plays essentially the bartender of the cantina. They really take, the whole cantina set and reuse it for this scene. She basically sings Be Our Guest, but it's closing time. Get out of here, you lousy drunks. So, family show. The entire special clearly was a bit of a cash grab, but also, it was producers. It was probably George Lucas himself. It was absolutely Kenner. It was everyone sort of glomming on to the just smash success that Star Wars was, and just trying to quickly get something out there. So one of its accolades, if anything, is that it was the first, Star Wars spin-off film ever to be put to screen. So it's got that. Back to the actual, substance of this video. Kenner, of course, was eager to, just add more product onto the shelves. I mean, they likewise had a smash success with their Star Wars figures. So they saw this and, got real excited about, getting on board with the holiday special. There were plans for, at the very least, drawings of Boba Fett, plus the weird dragon that he rode in that episode and Never Again. They also wanted to do figures based off of Chewie's families, who were really sort of the connective tissue to all these really stupid skits. That would include Itchy, Chewie's grandfather, Lumpy, his son, and Malla, who we're talking about today, alongside these other figures. A few things are notable about these prototypes that they kind of mocked up. One, of course, being that like the original prototypes they had sort of mocked up for, with George Lucas, you can look at the son and say, that's an adventure person, clearly. Likewise, obviously, the other two were basically just, Chewbacca with a different coat of paint. I know you're looking at these and you're like, which one's Malla? And if you look real close, you can notice these huge shadow casting jugs, and that's Malla. One would hope Malla would come with an apron, but we'll never know. Kenner, per rumors on the street, sort of saw at least early drafts of the holiday special and said, no, we're not touching this. And they halted production pretty quickly after inception of those figures. So, alas, we never got toys of this. I think it's probably for the best. This entire exercise was very much a hard lesson for Lucas to learn, and we'll get back to that. For a brand that is so far encompassing and will literally put its name on almost anything, the holiday special is the one thing that George Lucas is adamant about not producing any material for. Like I mentioned before, this only aired once, but it was a big deal. People did record it off the TVs in very bad low quality. So before the internet, kids, these things were taped and bootlegged. And I mean, I've told friends my first copy I had to get out of the back of a trunk, and they don't believe me, and that's because that's precisely what happened. I mean, this tape was much more difficult to get than, say, buying drugs. So I've heard. After an interview with George Lucas, Steve Sansweet, legendary Star Wars historian, did ask George, point blank, what he thought about the holiday special, and off camera he did sort of say how he wished he could just go out and burn every single one of these bootleg VHS copies. Now, of course, it's on YouTube. You can find it very easily. I recommend it. But it was really the lesson that George learned that, as much as people were desperate for him to get more content out before Empire Strikes Back, he really did take back the reins on what the quality control was. I mean, in the early days, you had just a deluge of just kind of baffling Star Wars-y things. And, when Lucasfilm itself really kind of coalesced, they took a very, tight look at every single thing that went out of the doors. Now, of course, Star Wars figures, I mean, there is every single damn character you can imagine out there, particularly in the kind of late 90s, early 2000s, Power of the Force onward toy line. I mean, just background characters from the Cantina that I never even saw and still can't find to this day have figures. So, I mean, everyone and their dog's been made, except for these bunch. This is not surprising given George's thoughts on the matter. It is unfortunate, however. That said, since the Disney buyout, and now that they have control over it, they've loosened the reins a little bit. So, in the past few years, we did get a vintage collection Chewbacca with a red robe per the last scene of the movie. It's, kind of a cheap little repaint, basically, with a robe, but, it's very Malibu Stacy with a new hat. But that said, the fact that we got kind of, official holiday, special figure is a huge leap forward. That said, Malla and her family have yet to be made into, plastic form, officially. They themselves, however, have, I wouldn't say flourished, but they've made a number of appearances in all of, Star Wars canon. If you're not really familiar with it, Lucasfilm did sort of, sanction comic books, all that, video games in the 90s onwards, and it was called the Expanded Universe. When Disney bought Star Wars, they became the new canon. So the old Expanded Universe became Legends. Disney canon is now official. Complicated, I know. Malla, the whole family, a bunch of other Wookiee characters that would appear. They all kind of made, if not cameo appearances, they're definitely kind of baked into the lore. I mean, Chewie has a wife, he has a son. These are named characters who, if not under the holiday banner, could at least make their way to figures. But again, Hasbro's not biting. We talked before about that really great little Boba Fett skit, however. That one has sort of taken on a bit of a life of its own as well. I mean, it is the only piece from that entire special that is, it was on DVDs. It's on Disney Plus right now. You can watch it in much better quality than you can on YouTube. It's also, as the first appearance of Boba Fett has lent itself to, other incarnations. So when Kenner did the droids version of Boba Fett, he was very much in that kind of holiday special color scheme. Likewise, Hasbro's done an homage thing, and he doesn't come with this little pitchfork gun, but it's for sure the holiday special Boba Fett. Likewise, that same little pitchfork weapon was later given to the Mandalorian in Disney Plus series. Didn't use it for very long, but it was very much a holiday special homage. So it's out there. I mean, the holiday special endures. It lives on. It's become a holiday special, a holiday tradition in this home, but it's not really made its way to toy stores, which is too bad. Because I mean, frankly, I kind of want a retro collection Malla with the big mommy milkers. That said, y'all know me, if there's no official route, I'll go custom. So, I mean, these have been customized over the years quite a bit. I would say currently, your best bet would be go to someone who, does it in 3D printing, like Funky McClunky, who we've talked about many times on the channel. He does the whole family. They look great. Likewise, if you wanted to sort of gussy them up with the red robes, there's a lot of, kind of like toy tailors out there. I mean, say the Cape Master, for example, on eBay. I'll link all of them below. So, if you really want it, if you really love the holiday special, and how could you not? There are options out there. And that's it for Malla, the holiday special, a little bit of Boba Fett sidelining. I thank you for watching. Thank you for watching this year. We're gonna go even harder into the obscure and the wonderful ladies of the 80s and 90s and 70s in 2025. So I look forward to talking to you then, and I wish you a very white Life Day.